Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Buzzing About Romance, Sip and Discuss. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode are these people. Well, I will introduce them. Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
Lindsey. Hi, Lindsey.
Hey.
And Jenni. Hi, Jenni.
Hey, Becky.
And Leah. Hello, Leah.
Hello.
Okay, so we are in our Out of This World month. We're doing all the things that are not contemporary romance. For all the people that, are just tuning in, this is not typical for us. This is different. This was the pick from the Patreon community. So we gave them 3 books, first in series of different alien romances. I think we picked Ice Planet Barbarians, this one, and the first book in the Anna Hackett series. One of them. And they voted for Captive of the Horde King by Zoey Draven. So that is the book we're talking about. I need to say some things real quick. Heather's already rolling her eyes at me. I know this book is a fan favorite. I know that lots of listeners love this book.
Series. We love this series.
The series.
It is not necessarily this book.
There are
just clarifying that.
The series. Amanda could not join us. We're sending lots of positive, good vibes Amanda's way. She is stuck in Florida and is sheltering in place. She's on the East Coast. So she is getting the tail end of everything.
They're dealing with all the tornadoes.
Yes. Any of our listeners in Florida, we hope you all are staying safe and smart. Make sure you check in with us. But saying that, at the end of this, I will give Amanda sent thoughts. So I just need to know that my thoughts and Jenni's.
Yeah.
We're not alone.
We can really use Amanda right now.
And we're not being mean. Okay? There's 3 of you. Do not gang up on us tonight.
We would never gang up on you.
We might.
Okay. And we don't know where Lindsey. Lindsey, was this your first time reading this book, or have you read this series previous?
I've read this series.
Okay. We are in for it, Jenni.
She's very quiet right now, which makes me a little bit nervous how she's going to react.
I mean, no, okay. And no, I'm listening because I'm really interested to hear what everybody thinks.
She is working up her arguments.
Probably. No. She has a list. Okay, so like I said, this week's episode, we're discussing Captive of the Horde King by Zoey Draven. This is book 1 in her Dakkar.
Horde Kings of Dakkar.
Horde Kings of Dakkar. Dothraki. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Just
some things sound a little the same.
Keep going.
Okay, so who wants to give us all the things we need to know before we start?
I will.
Heather. I love how Heather raises
Heather. You know what?
It shoots up.
This is Heather's favorite thing to do. Going forward, if Heather's on the episode, she's reading the things we need to know.
Okay. Subgenre is sci-fi romance. Release date is March 26, 2019. The tropes are captive, forced proximity, enemies to lovers, virgin heroine, fated mates. Series Horde King of Dakkar. Type of series interconnected standalone with overarching themes. Point of view is single first person. Put out percentage 34. There's also extra equiment. People.
There's a vibrating bump. There's a vibrating bump that.
Oh, okay. Audio narrator
talk about
Leah Langola, which I did the audio and I thought it was great.
I did the audio. I really thought she did a really good performance. Told the story. It made sense. It worked.
Totally good. This is available in Kindle Unlimited, and you can whisper sync for about $3.50.
Yeah, like that was a deal on the book, and it is like a little over It is a little over 300 pages, but it reads really fast.
It does.
Which
It
I was
really
grateful for.
does.
Not if you don't.
It's 320
I put
pages.
it down like
It was
200
easy to put
times.
down, but I will say when I was listening to the segments, I was getting good chunks in. I mean, I finished the book while picking up dog poop with Ollie, so it was very exciting.
Okay.
It felt appropriate. She volunteered. Is it still captive? Yes, Sue. I would say she's still captive. She cannot escape. It was trading her life for potentially the life of her brothers. And let's talk about that for a really quick second. There is no consent in this book. Yes, she volunteered, but she didn't really have a choice in her volunteering, right? Because it's survival. So I think at best you could say this is dubious consent because it is not freely given consent in this book.
it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Later. I mean, maybe not at first. But
Definitely right away.
I was going to say, right when, that first time they have sex, she's not fully educated, prepared, or understood. She knows it's going to happen, but she's not freely giving.
No, not at the beginning.
She's kind of hesitant.
And she says no.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right,
there's
not
no
at the beginning.
discussion at all of her situation. She's a virgin heroine. So
He calls it untried.
He does call it untried.
and he's not particularly like
gentle.
Okay.
romantic or
and
gentle about
I
it.
wouldn't say there's any romantic to most of him.
Yeah, I don't think it's really like yeah.
There are soft moments, but not many.
there was not.
They don't woo. They're not wooers. the
No.
They're not
aliens.
wooers.
Nope.
Not in this.
They're like,
Mhm.
me, Horde King, you woman.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of people find it more palatable to have the dubious consent in something like a fantasy, a
Mhm.
science fiction. They find it easier to handle.
Yeah.
I have zero problems with consent. We've talked about this before. For me, the conversation of consent, I didn't really understand that was something we needed to worry about until 2021. Because I read the old
I
school.
still don't. I didn't even realize it. So
I read those old school bodice rippers, and being a Gen Xer, a kid of the 90s, things were it's different. I think if you look at the old school bodice rippers that I started reading, the informed consent is very different, right? But I will say, as I was reading this, I do think
I feel like we need to disclaimer that in your books, you understand.
in her
oh,
book.
in books. Sorry, I'm not talking about real life. I don't know.
You're correct.
In books. Yeah, I don't. Although I did edit Shannon's book of free use, and you waive consent in the beginning, and we never have to have it again. So that's an interesting
also in a
kink.
book.
Also in a book. But maybe I adapted it.
Anyway.
So we're on. Let's talk about this real quick while we're on the piece of the sex and the consent. Did it bother anybody? So this is alien romance, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's not the alien. She's the alien. It's
I know, I
his
kinda like
home
that take on
planted.
His home what?
Plant it. Plan it. I can't say planet.
Planet.
I personally like the fact that they are in his home, she's the outlier, because you don't typically get that with the way the story is set up. It's the Dakkar world is the actual world, and I think it's an interesting twist.
It is, but it felt weird to call him alien when she was the alien.
Well, to her,
Right.
he was the alien, but to nobody else.
No, she
She's
was
the
born
alien
there.
to everybody else. She was the
Well, this is
foreigner.
true. She was born there.
I will also
She
say,
is the alien.
overall, the theme of this book is controlled colonization.
Mhm.
People come to their planet. They created rules and boundaries and segments and forced the humans and the other species to they had to stay in certain places, right? And they were contained and they have to follow their rules or they will die. So, I mean, it really is, in a political sense, this is what controlled colonization looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
fiction. I'm just saying that.
Okay.
Still have
But
a lot of
okay, well,
problems.
let's talk about the world building, because I think in something like a science fiction book, same within a PNR, we have to understand the lore. We have to understand how the world works. And if I think it's Jenni who texted me, if you're going to create a freaking language, let's talk about how time works.
Hours aren't a thing. It's like, no. It just,
But we don't understand like their planet's atmosphere. We don't understand how their their sun and
the
moon
moon,
cycle.
yeah, like,
you know,
they had like, it seemed like a moon cycle was 28 days, which would not, no, that doesn't work. Like, we are the only planet with a 28-day moon cycle.
How do you know that for sure, though? Just saying.
maybe
Okay,
there's other
we're the only
suns.
planet in our solar system with a
Yeah, but
28.
who's to say
As
it's in, like,
we,
it's not in our
but
solar system?
But she
maybe
doesn't
it's
explain
their
any of that.
28 days, because their days would not be the same either.
See, I
See,
don't
that
need it.
doesn't bug me because, like, I've read multiple books in which, like, you're just kind of thrown into the world and, like, they're trying to figure it out. And, like, reading other Zoey Draven books, like, she kind of, like, she
She
just throws
doesn't
you into
world
this
build.
world and she doesn't really build it. It's like you're thrown into a world and, like, you kind of figure it out as it goes.
But
And, like, that
in
doesn't
this,
necessarily bug me.
but in this one book, there isn't a figure out how it goes. Like, we don't understand climate, atmosphere. Like, they're wearing nothing. So I'm assuming it's a desert type environment, at least where they are. You know, I just, for me, it's like the PNR. And I think that's part of the reason that I shy away from it. I don't understand how the lore works. Therefore, it makes it difficult for me to follow along. So in this book, there was no world. No world was built. It was very character driven. Yes? No?
Yeah.
I feel like we get to know, you understand the world as the story goes. Like, you're thrust into it similar to, you know, and you just figure it out as it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is actually like fairly common in alien romances for that to happen, and to just kind of like thrust you into the world and you figure it out as you go along. And I think it kind of goes with like there's a lot of captive type romances in alien romance, and I think it really goes well with that theme because like it puts you, the reader, in a similar position to one of the characters, typically as like they're discovering the world, you are too. And I like that element of it. I don't necessarily need the world building.
I don't either.
I did. I did. And Amanda did. Just so we all know. Amanda did too. We needed the world.
I am a sci-fi person. Like, I watch a lot of sci-fi movies. Like, I mean, part of that is my husband makes me watch them, but I love like science fiction. But this, I needed things to work and they didn't.
Well, but Stacy makes a good comment, and it's built more over the series. And this is one of those books, like this is like her writing got much better from book one to the very last book of this series. Like she really hit her stride. And I think that's part of the issue with this one too, is like book one, like it kind of sets up the character base, but like as the book series builds, like her writing gets better and better and the world gets more dynamic and more interesting.
But it's a 6-book series. You got to hook me with book one.
Yeah, it wasn't enough for me to come back.
And okay. And so I'll stop with the world. I have one more comment about the world. And I will stop with it. And then we can talk about the story and the structure and how things work. And I don't know why I'm phrasing. But anyway, I do feel that this world is basically Game of Thrones Dothraki. This book reads like Game of Thrones Dothraki fan fiction. And I know that Game of Thrones isn't something everybody did, but
yeah, but book one does have more of that like element, but again, like she kind of loses that as the series goes.
It was
like,
really,
it doesn't really
it was really interesting reading reviews. A lot of people were saying that like Kristen Ashley's Golden Ages books, that this even felt like fan fiction to that. And Kristen Ashley's been very clear to say that she was inspired to write her books because of Jason Momoa's character within the Game of Thrones and that Dothraki. So, I think that's it on that. I know Jenni, well, we'll talk about that. Let's talk about our characters. Let's talk about what we liked in this story and what worked. Let's start with Luna, our heroine.
Yeah.
You share your thoughts. What did everyone think of Luna?
I liked her. She was sassy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find her slightly, I wish she had more of a backbone. I also feel like single first person point of view on this book did it a disservice.
It does, and it does change in book 2, and then it is dual first person through the rest of the series.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I felt like she was a little, I don't think it's too stupid to live. I don't think that's the word.
It's more fish out of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she does not know anything that goes on beyond her little like border of her settlement. And she believes all these stereotypes that she's been taught.
Yeah.
She's very sheltered. Like she doesn't, like you said, she doesn't know much.
As I was reading her, I felt myself going back to some of the old school bodice rippers that take place in the Arabian deserts, kind of that harem vibe. The Sultan picks up, kidnaps her, brings her into the harem, favors her. 2 within the harem will help, kind of assimilate and, teach her ways and stuff like that. So I got those vibes from her. I really wanted more. I think I just wanted more. I mean, this is like the 3rd time I've tried to pick up this book and read it, and I did finish it. But it's just I just kept thinking, oh, that's it.
I mean, they don't really get deep into it. Like, there's not really a lot of depth to the story. It's very surface level. Even their relationship, despite them being fated mates, is very surface level. I don't know that. I think there's a kind of a spectrum with alien romances. I said this just last week about the paranormal, but like there's a spectrum of what they are. And I think a lot of them tend to be somewhat surface level, not a lot of world building, and very fast paced.
Yeah.
And I think in this particular situation, like part of them not having as much relationship building comes from her not really being exposed to much. Like she's been living this very survivor style life in her village. She makes decisions entirely around saving her brother. Like she is a girl who's had to kill her own mother. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Like she comes from, she's kind of like a forged by fire kind of character. And as a result, like she's not afraid of him. She's not really excited about being in a relationship with him at all. But like, I think even though she's in a unique circumstance, I really like the way she handles herself in those circumstances. Like she doesn't let people walk all over. Like when she's getting her tattoos, their mating bond tattoos or whatever. Like she is in extreme pain, not showing it. Like I think you see a lot of very strong, subtle character traits from her. At the same time, you see a lot of like naive, innocent type trait, and she seems very, very young.
Well, and I think that's the thing. Like we don't really know exactly how old she is. Like she talks about like how her mom had died a few years before that, and she was only 15 when that happened. So we don't really know how old she is. So she could only be like 19. And she like, so if she is still quite young, like her character is like reads in tune
Yeah.
with that, like with that sheltered naivety, like of that age. And I think, but there's a strength in her that like she never had to really tap into before like she went to him. But like the fact that like she was so determined to like protect her brother, like that really like tapped into that like back end that she didn't really know that she had. And so it's like these all these little things, and like the fact that like she feels confident in like clapping back at him, maybe not always in the most appropriate ways, but like it really gives like allows her to grow and like into her own like self-worth that she didn't think that she had before.
Heather, do you have anything to share about Luna? Your thoughts of
Yeah,
her?
I actually think she reads very young. Like now, kind of thinking back, like I bet she's young and she has
Mhm.
no world experience. Like she knows that little small town.
Yeah.
Well, and it's definitely class difference.
Mhm.
There is that power dynamic. And I find that interesting too, because I was talking to Amanda, because I know that power dynamic she doesn't really like a power dynamic, which is why she shies away from certain books and certain things.
Yeah.
And she didn't mind the power dynamic that we had last week with the PNR. And she didn't mind it in this book. Like, it doesn't bother her in a sci-fi romance. And I find that interesting because, like, we don't know how old he is either. And he does read older.
Mhm.
We also don't know like how long his race typically lives or what their aging process is.
Yeah.
Any of that.
Right.
So, that it's kind of that weird power play. And I find it interesting that people who don't typically like it in contemporary love it in something like an Alien. It's just
This
like,
is true.
we know that Ice Planet Barbarians is basically breeding kink. That is all that those books are. And, people will be like, I don't like breeding kink, but I read all of Ice Planet Barbarians. Okay.
And they loved them. Like
Make
they
it make
clamor
sense.
to those things.
I think there's also an element in paranormal or like mafia or a lot of the books where you see consent or like dubious consent or things like that being accepted. Like it doesn't necessarily read as a toxic relationship because there's a cultural difference associated with those books, that whereas like contemporary, it's set in modern culture. So when you get like no consent in a contemporary, it reads very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah, you can kind of separate this from real like fiction to like real life. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think some readers can. I
Right.
think there are other readers that, like Jenni, really struggled with the lack of consent and understanding. But I do think that there's some forgiveness given because it is not contemporary.
Yeah, if this was like set in a contemporary, I probably would have stopped at 34%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Errolcon. He is our hero. He is the leader of this specific horde.
Yeah.
And he is a subject of the actual king of all the hordes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
It's like states, right? That's how I kind of think about it. Like,
I assumed it was tribe. It kind of gave tribe vibes.
Like, well, because they don't stay in one place. Like they move like where the food
like
goes. 'Cause, like at the
Bedouins,
towards the
tribes.
end of the book, like the herd is
Well.
traveling because the weather is changing, so they're following the herd.
Yeah. So what are our thoughts on him? Again, I think that this book would have read better with his POV.
with his point of view. Yeah, I
agree.
definitely like I missed out, and that was one thing that I really enjoy about the later books is the fact that we get like we don't always get a ton of like the male point of view in like a couple of the books, but we get enough for it really to create a lot of like depth to the story. And like I wanted to get like into his headspace, especially like on those like days where like they were having the moments like and then nothing would happen and like or like his reaction instead of her reaction when she like burst into that meeting.
Well, even
Yeah.
when they're in the what he called a trial, which was
Mhm.
actually just an execution,
Yeah.
Judgment Day, I would have rather have had his headspace, and then they don't talk to each other for 4 days, then they have sex. Like,
Yeah.
Because she apparently now is a sex fiend.
Right.
I mean that kind of
I
goes hand
do
in hand
think
with the
that
genre. So
I think that sci-fi in general has a lot of sex, Jenny.
they do.
I've read Ice Planet Barbarians.
Oh.
I know that they have a lot
There's
of
a
sex.
lot of sex.
What else is there to do? There's no phones, there's no internet, there's no TV. I mean, you're just gonna get it
You
on.
could you can fight or you can fuck. I mean,
Yeah, I guess I like the fighting better in my sci-fi.
Bring out the laser swords.
but you don't
Yeah.
want the tail to wrap around your thigh and
Okay.
pull you to where he
To
needs to
Jenny's
be.
point, though, I agree. Like, there is usually an element of violent conflict in these sci-fi books, and the violence in this book was very minimal.
It was, yes,
Very
compared to other ones.
Can
Yeah,
we talk
Very tame.
Can we talk about the tail? Because it's used a little in the beginning, and then we really don't really get much more tail.
No, it's more of a
It felt gimmicky. Same with the
it's more of
bump.
an apparatus for moving things.
Same with the bump. We got it like once.
No,
a-
we got the bump quite a few times.
Not every
'cause
time,
when-
though.
Not every, yeah.
She
he
didn't
has, like, a
describe
built-in
the
ring.
bump every time.
I mean, she talked about the bump enough.
I mean, she licked it a couple times.
I mean,
Well-
she was a big fan of it when she's giving him blowjobs.
Well, but I just, like, what was its purpose? Can we talk? Do we know? And this is
why
again,
does it need a purpose?
That's
Also,
how
I think the
she's
purpose is pretty
evolved.
clear.
Her
I mean,
pleasure. For her
But also,
pleasure.
like the position
So,
and the fact that it vibrates.
the fact that
like,
their anatomy, so is the female anatomy of this species the exact same as the female anatomy of a human?
I
Like,
think-
how would the
I think we learn
tail
about that in
and
a
when
different
the
book, to be
bump-
honest.
Like,
Mhm.
so
In a different
obviously
book.
the bump is going to be more towards his species than the human species. So,
Well, but if you like the females are not as big or like as bulky as the males. Like they talk about that, how they're like built similar, but they're still smaller.
But
So I would assume
I'm just
it would
saying,
be.
like
I don't remember how it's broken down because
species that
it's
have,
been a while.
you know, different genitalia, it's for the purpose of breeding and it plays a part into the breeding, right? It has a purpose. What was the bump's purpose?
all the paranormal penises, very few paranormal penises actually have a purpose beyond.
But like the knotting has the purpose to stay
Yeah,
in there
I mean-
and get her pregnant.
But
What
not
does a
all
ma-
paranormal-
what
But
is
the
a
knot is
human?
not there all the time. The knot like just shows up in the mating moment. Like it's not like it's always there.
Okay, but
Yeah.
like, so like a demi penis in a reptile, there's a reason
We're not
for
talking
breeding.
about.
But that's what I'm
We're
saying.
not talking about real like reptiles, though. We're talking about.
But the bump,
fiction.
what was the purpose and how does it play into the female anatomy? Like, I have questions.
It's like the ears on the rabbit.
They always
That is what
have
it does.
kind of fun, unique, supernatural penis element that does not really have a purpose beyond it's not a human normal.
It's true
penis.
because Ice Planet Barbarians have like the hook bump
Yeah.
thing, and it doesn't even
Yeah.
vibrate. It's just there.
Well, their ears vibrate though,
but only like
their
in
tongue.
the
But why?
moment.
and their
Why
tongue.
do their ears vibrate? I don't remember this.
It's like
Um,
when they're about to come.
Right
like,
when
it-
they're
it,
about
like,
to
vibrates.
come, it's like they're focusing
And
their
it's like
power
if the
to-
girl, like the
Look at
girls
him
stroke
farming.
it.
Yeah,
Shakes it
like,
out.
it
yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. The point
Stacy
is,
says, did Ice Planet Barbarians have a purpose for the extra bits? No, they did not.
lot
The
of them-
vibrating horns did not make a
But
difference.
it gave
They just
notice
vibrated.
that they were doing that. It was a shift of energy. I just needed to know why
That
the
is
bump
not-
existed.
You are stretching things.
Listen, the
Rebecca.
bump
Like,
made no fucking sense, Leah.
no, the bump doesn't
It
make
doesn't
sense
have
because
to. It's just a
you
fun
think that
extra
it needs
bit.
to. Like,
Okay.
It's just a fun.
honestly, like,
What does
it's
any
like-
man have a purpose for?
I
Right?
don't know. I
Seriously.
don't like them anyway. I mean, seriously, get rid of all the men. I don't
Once
need
you
them.
go alien, you never go back. I mean, you're not wrong. You are not wrong.
I-
I have a
That
whole
could be a
little
sticker.
doodad on my,
Okay,
reading
so it's just
tracker
aliens.
all for-
Apparently, aliens get special bits. Okay, got it. But nobody explained that to
Also,
me.
I will caveat the kind of advertisements you get for certain things will be very unique once you read a lot of alien romances, assuming
Mm.
that you have certain permissions approved on your phone.
Also, I'm curious to see what my like Facebook ads are going to be tomorrow after
After this
sitting here
discussion.
talking about this all
Yeah.
night.
It's always interesting.
You never know what's going to show up the day after an episode.
So Amanda needed to bring this up, and I will bring it up. I thought about it a couple times, but then I didn't think about it as hard as Amanda did,
Okay.
For sure I did.
and Jenny did.
I did.
Did his claws in his fingers, especially when he was using them on her lady bits, bother anybody else? Like, dude's gonna like scratch her out.
No, it didn't bug me.
Yeah, same.
I didn't notice.
I didn't either.
I
Like,
noticed, but it didn't
Oh,
bug
wow,
me because
they're
again,
doing it again.
it's an alien. So I
They're-
give some
But
grace to
she
the fact
has
that he's
human-
an alien.
human
I'm not, like,
bits.
ugh. Yeah, I'm like thinking about like Alien the movie. I'm like, yeah,
But it's
they're gonna kill you. I mean,
but it's not like he's crawling out of her stomach either. I mean, like
Sydney Burrier showed me a face sucker that like attaches to your head like as a costume piece. And I was like, great, Sydney, that's awesome. Where would you wear it? She's like, I'd wear it to the store. I'm like, we're not buying it.
And I'm
I
not
could
going to
totally-
the store with you.
Right.
you're like,
I'll go
get
to
your
the store
license
with
in
her.
here.
Huh. Okay, so the claws apparently only bothered Amanda and Jenny.
And you.
can we talk about his face?
His what?
What about his
His
face?
face, because he's Avatar but tan.
Yeah, if you look at the cover,
The new covers, yeah.
the
I don't like the
drawings,
new covers.
they
as much.
look like the aliens from Avatar, the blue aliens from Avatar.
I was
They have
disappointed.
the like slanted noses.
I was
the
just
small
honestly, I was
nostrils.
disappointed in the recover
and the
for
yellow
the paperbacks. I like the
eyes.
old ones better because the old ones, they, ooh, yeah, I'm not attached.
Leah's like, I'm not attached. Wait.
Because the old ones, they're more humanoid, like
Yeah,
in the
that
pictures.
looks way different. Like he had yellow eyes and yeah.
Yeah, like he has like the gold, like you can't really see it. Like there is the different eye color, but they're definitely like more human in the like description of like the old covers. I don't like the new covers.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit like a tan version of an Avatar aliens.
hmm
I've never seen Avatar, so
I haven't either, but if you look it up,
You're not really missing
Yeah,
anything.
I'm never
You're
gonna.
not.
I'm never gonna watch.
why are you never
It's
going to watch
3 hours.
Avatar?
It's
It is
3
3 hours.
hours.
It's a
Oh.
lot of freaking movie.
Who the heck is making movies that long? And what adult actually has
Steven
the-
Spielberg.
Nobody-
James Cameron.
That
James
is-
Cameron.
Anybody that makes movies that long doesn't have anyone with ADHD in their life.
I mean, did you watch
They don't know
Titanic?
humans. That's the problem. If you're making a movie that long, you don't
Titanic
know
was so long
humans.
it was 2 VHS tapes, people.
Right?
2 VHS
Mhm.
tapes. You had to get up and switch the tape.
Right? All to watch
You know-
Jack die
Yes,
on a door.
I am aging myself.
When they first did 3-hour movies, wasn't it like 15? I don't know. In my head, I did like 15-minute intermissions in the middle, which is like totally acceptable. But like a 3-hour
But
long
also,
movie in the movie
2
theater, no
VHS
intermission.
tapes.
But see, my ADHD husband can sit through that like no problem.
Yeah.
So they know their audience.
Yeah.
This is true.
Stacy says she heard it was bad Pocahontas in reference to Avatar.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do think
I agree, Stacey. I will give Lord of the Rings days of
I
my
will never-
life. Well, and also Star Wars. I will give that days of my life.
Yeah,
I did
he-
actually watch Lord of the Rings, but in all fairness, Orlando Bloom was very hot as an elf.
oh my God,
I was
Well,
like 13.
and I do like Viggo Mortensen.
you know,
Yes.
if Orlando Bloom is hot, we're in. If he's an elf, we're in.
I mean, Aragon and Legolas, they make it for me.
I mean, I named one of my kids after one of his characters, so
This is true.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, my husband picked out that name, but yeah.
But you
That's
did
also
not
a
fight it.
No, but I did watch the movie that is over 3 hours to make sure I was pronouncing my kid's name correctly.
Okay. So back to Horde King, captive of the
Yes.
Horde King. You know, it's funny because you guys brought up the age, and juvenile is how I felt about this book. Just
Mhm.
everything felt really juvenile. I do think it gives kind of old school bodice ripper vibes a little bit with the kidnapping and her needing to be, you know, assimilate and, I don't know, rescued from her pauper life and stuff like that. Now, I do need to ask, because I'm going to be real honest. I have no plans to read any more of this series. Like, it's not for me. So, which is cool. It's no big deal. Not every book is for everybody. This one is just not for me. Why does every hero mate with a human? Or do some of the...
So
Was his mom a human? His mom
No,
wasn't
his
a
mom was
human.
not a
Mom
human.
wasn't a human.
No, but in the next 5 books, is every heroine a human? What is wrong with the
No.
women of their species?
Nothing's wrong with them. They just, the goddess, like, drives them to the
Mm,
person that
there-
they meet.
There's an overarching plot to take over the human race.
Well, the overarching storyline is with like those, like,
I totally just made that up. I'm not.
I might be right.
it's more introduced in book 2 and book 3. One of the heroines, I think it might be book 4, book 5, she is half human, half Horde, like Dakkar.
Okay. But I guess that
Whatever.
would have been nice to know, like, why was his chosen mate human?
yeah, it's book 4, Broken by the Horde King. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I think there's one.
Because
Actually
they were like
plan. Yeah.
friends when they were growing up, and he broke her heart. That's right, because it's second chance. Yeah, I don't think it's really talked about, but like there's like a witchy element that is added in, I think, book 4.
So was this her debut? Is this book her
No,
debut?
this is one of her earlier books. She had her Aliens of Luxor series prior to this one, but I read those ones. I wasn't a huge fan of them. Like, her writing style has definitely gotten better, like, with this series. This was she started publishing in 2017.
Okay.
And this was 2019, but that Aliens of Luxor series was before this one, but it was hard to get into that one. I didn't end up finishing that series.
Well, and if this is one of her first, you know, like first of 10 books that, you know, it would explain
It was
some
like
of the
her
juvenile
5th or 6th
nature
book, I think.
of the book, but you would hope,
Yeah.
but you would hope by, if this was her 5th or 6th book, you would hope by that point she'd had some kind of development and movement. Because again, I know it was easy to put down, but I think that just comes because science fiction isn't my thing. It was I mean, I can walk away from Star Trek and go right back in and watch Star Trek and feel like I didn't forget or not understand what was happening.
And see, I am a sci-fi nut.
Yeah.
So
It's just
I like
not
that.
it's just not my thing, and that's okay. Was there anything within this book that you really felt was dynamic, that really, like, it was the hook for you that kept you reading? For those of you that were, like, loving it?
I don't know. I feel like these are kind of mac and cheese reads to me, like where easy to read. They're very fast. Like there's
Mm.
not really a lot of thought. I'm just like kind of okay, this is what it is. Like throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Like
Well,
I don't need
yeah, and
it.
like when I read them, I binged everything that was out, and it was just one of those things. And honestly, like again, book one is not the strongest book of the series. It is my
No.
least favorite of the series. Like it's one of those ones where I like, but I binged, and like as the series continued, like the overarching storyline is what really pulls you in, which is disappointing that like book one is not like as strong as it could be
That's
to really
bad.
introduce like this world, because it does definitely get more intriguing and more dynamic as the world continues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets better.
Like Stacy said, if you're intrigued and don't mind skipping, try book 4, book 3 or book 4 and go from there. Because
Yeah.
book 2 isn't bad. But book 3 and book 5 are my favorites. Well, and I really like book 6 too, but
I'm going to break all your hearts. I'm not doing it.
yeah, we know.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
okay.
either.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I knew you weren't going to. I was surprised you even gave us this one.
Hey,
I'm not
I
surprised
said
she gave us this one. I'm actually surprised she finished it, to be honest. I'm surprised she didn't DNF.
I finished the Megan Quinn book, so screw you
But
all.
you knew
Oh my
that,
God.
but you knew
How
all of
long
us
are we
like
gonna hear
finished
about
it
this?
At
Forever.
least
until the
another
end of
year.
time. Like she's going to hold on to that until like the end of time. But
Because
I'm surprised like that you did finish this one just because you knew like we had all read it before.
And I really, to be honest, I'm really trying this month. I want to push myself. I think, as a reader, one of the things that we can do is continue to try new to us authors, new to us genres, really push ourselves to, especially, this book, it's constantly talked about like, oh my God, you want science fiction, aliens, try Zoey Draven. Like you hear about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So in all honesty, I don't mind pushing myself. I'm really trying. And so, this month, is it a challenge for me? 1,000% it is. But I'm really giving it a try. I liked last week's book. I had some questions. Romania.
I guess we'll find out because I think it's new to all of us, that one.
No,
I think that
Not the
Leah,
author.
Lindsey. You've read
Lindsay,
this
have
one.
you read that?
This one.
What?
No. See,
read
I
this
told
one.
you. None of us have read this one yet. We've read Samantha Whiskey, but we have not read her vampires yet.
Okay. Well, next week's episode might be really interesting.
I don't think it will be bad. I think it's really popular for vampire book.
Okay.
They seem to be
Well,
really
and
well
like
received, and a lot of people do recommend her books in general. Like, I will say this about Samantha Whiskey: she writes a generally consistent book, even if it's not phenomenal. It's generally pretty good. So I don't have any worries about it.
Okay.
yeah, like I don't always love like the characters, but it's always a strongly written book. Like she is a strong writer, like well developed like storylines, but sometimes I just hate the characters.
Well, and I read, like years ago, I read every book by Charlene Harris in
Mm-hmm.
the Sookie Stackhouse series. Sookie.
Okay.
Sookie.
But you know what? Like, you bring up a good point with this because, like, we're talking about author consistency. There is a wide array of, like, I think you see a much different range. You're starting to see it more in contemporary and other genres of romance, like more inconsistency in terms of book quality, whereas, like, there used to be a ton of really good, consistent work. But like in paranormal, it's always been a gamut of like, okay, sometimes I read a book and I'm like, well, that was utter garbage. And other times I'm like, wow, I really loved this. I obsess about it. And I talk to you for 2 years about the Nightshade vampires every week.
Hey, have you read the new one? Not to like
No.
interrupt the. It was good. I have some issues with it, but we can talk about it later.
I love that they just keep coming out with more.
Is that the Vampire Mafia?
Yes,
Mhm.
the Vampire
Ooh.
Mafia, Becky.
Heather, and
I think it was this book pulled me out of my comfort zone. Like I went into the new year wanting to read different stuff, new authors.
yeah.
So I read this in January. I can't do all alien. I have to mix it. So I read January and February most like PNR. And so I liked it. It made me want to read more. It wasn't
Mhm.
like super thought provoking. There's issues, but it was like, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And I like that it challenges us. It makes us look at things different. And like I said, I was giving some comps to, I think I was giving them to Jenni and Amanda, you know, like the vibes of this book are like having the Sheik's baby from the 1990s Harlequin line, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, and that was a whole thing in the 90s. And then Jenni got all up in roars like,
I did.
cultural appropriation. You have to remember, like, there was no Google. It was encyclopedias, pop culture media that they were.
We had a set of encyclopedias at our house.
Let's see. Oh, Stacy says for her, she rarely would read contemporary until she joined the community. You're welcome. You're welcome. She read Winterville, so it's cool.
She ranks way
She
better
gets a
than us.
pass.
She might
I
take
mean,
your job.
she wins it all.
I'm just saying, a real friend would read Winterville.
Real friend
the
has
men-
a whole list just for Becky.
All
And
of
the
it.
Men of Haven.
And the Men of
Literally all I
Haven.
did
Well,
last
that
year.
one, yes. A real friend would read
I'm
the Men of
telling you,
Haven.
come the first of the year, because we're working on backlists. Well, actually, we're gonna just call it Becky's list of 2025. So if you people don't step up to host a month, guess what?
I'm fine.
Guess what your TBR is gonna look like, people.
I wish my momming responsibilities wasn't so strong this year.
Well, being
It
a
happens.
parent's a
know.
lot. Okay. Let's do our unless anybody has anything else to say about Captive. Anything? Okay.
Oh, yeah, wait a second. Why was she dumb enough to go like with the old lady?
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was
That was a faux pas.
Okay.
Faux pas.
As long as we all acknowledge that, I'm good.
It was at
It
that
was
moment.
dumb.
It was at that moment I thought, oh, because I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt the whole time. Like, she's not too stupid to live. Look, like she's really
that
trying.
was a too stupid to live moment. I will fully
And
agree
then
with
she did that, and I thought,
Well, I think she acknowledges that she doesn't want to do that, but like she overrides her instincts because of how important she is to
the
Ericon.
hero. Yeah.
Yeah. So
She even says, like, I don't think this is a good idea.
yeah, like
Yeah,
she
but she
knows
just kept
that it's not a good
walking
idea. She
and-
knows she doesn't want to do it. She's not comfortable with it. And she pushes herself because she thinks it's critical to rising to her new status as the Horde Queen, and gaining favor with someone who holds great esteem with her mate.
Yeah. And to be honest, during that tattoo scene, I really thought she was going to be his mother
Yeah.
because
I
of the
did too.
Love
vibes.
it.
I thought it was going to be his mother. Like,
It was going to be.
so I thought that. But anyway, so yeah, that was her too stupid moment. But it's okay. I do think that this
But
is one
she
of those.
prevailed because she got her own,
Yeah.
like, she got out of it herself.
She
for the most
did.
part.
Well, yeah, and I would say that, like, because I was very hard on this book, but like, she was smart enough to like be like, I don't know what to do in a situation, so you need to teach me.
Yeah.
And she learned.
She did
and
learn.
she progressed. And that's what
Well, and then she made a dumbass move, but
yeah.
Okay,
it happens.
so let's do our thumbs up, thumbs down. I asked Amanda, and she said some thumb sideways. She thinks that Anna Hackett's Alien World is better. So if
Anna creates a
disagree.
really phenomenal world.
she said that if you want to give sci-fi a chance that's really well done, go to Anna Hackett.
It's also really short and easy to read. Like Anna
Yeah.
Hackett has, like, she's the gold standard to me.
She's
And
like a 250.
so cute and sweet.
She
I
is.
And I
love
love
her.
her. I know.
And
And her husband is
gifted-
like amazing as
Adorable.
well.
Yeah. I bonded with them. We're best friends forever.
Like, honestly, when Anna and I were talking and Lindsey and Anna's husband would not stop talking.
Yeah.
Like, we held up that line at
He
the book
talked to me
signing.
too. Yeah, he
Yeah, well,
was
because
just
I
jabber
was
jabbing away.
like,
I
we
was
were
like,
doing our
all
thing.
right.
He was super chatty. He was so sweet and so nice.
And they're Lindsay's best
Okay.
friends.
They're my
Yes.
best friends. They're my favorite people.
Lindsay, thumbs up, thumbs down on Captive of the Horde
I
King.
read this. I am not picky when it comes to paranormal stuff. Like, I'll read anything. Thumbs up.
Okay. Heather, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I give it a thumbs up.
Okay. Leah, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm a thumbs up for this one as well. Like I said, this is not the strongest book, but I do enjoy it.
Jenni, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I have to say thumbs down. I need the math to work and it doesn't for me.
Yeah. I'm gonna go thumbs sideways. It wasn't the worst thing you people have made me read. Megan Quinn. But it was not the best thing I have read. But I do see the attraction. I see why people really like it. I see why people are engaged with it. It definitely borders lines on the vibes over stakes. And it is, super sexy. It is almost like alien erotica. So,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
because it lacks
Again.
world, in my opinion.
The
So,
three of us that like it.
I was like, yep.
I like that we're all over the spectrum with this because that's
I do
how
too.
it is with a lot of like paranormal sci-fi books. And I think it's an accurate representation and it's a more accurate conversation for someone who like tunes into these episodes and is like, where am I gonna fall? And if they know they read books like Jenni, they're gonna be like, hell no. But if they know like they're more like Becky, they're like, oh, maybe I'll try this. I might not like it, but like, hey, I'll try it. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I
and
think this is
that's
good.
part of the reason that we bring in co-hosts and different and try to shake things up because, Heather is in for the vibe. She doesn't want the third act breakups. Give her all the sexy times. She's
I'm
in.
also not picky. Like, I mean, I think you guys know that.
Yeah.
Like, and
Unless
like,
it's hockey. If they get hockey wrong, then she's real picky, people.
correct.
It's a whole other topic, though.
And, we know that Lindsay wants really deep character development. Unless it's paranormal, then she just is in it for the vibes.
There's no rules for me.
There's no rules. And Leah, sometimes we're not
Rules are
sure.
left on Earth.
Leah doesn't read anything in order. Nothing makes sense with Leah, but she has a good, solid understanding of pacing and how stories work. So that's why we bring everybody
I read
in.
things in order. It's not true. I read lots of things in order.
I don't.
But
Within the book, you read it in
no,
order?
like the book itself, like I don't read it in order.
Never.
Sometimes.
You never
like
read
I
it in
read a
order.
book like last week,
That's what I'm talking
and
about.
I read the first 3 chapters, then I skipped to the last 3 chapters, then I went back to the beginning and then back to the end, and then I read the entire book, but I read nothing in the position that it was supposed to be in.
Okay, that's
You're a lot of work.
wow.
Just
But you guys love me anyway.
we
I mean, sometimes I skip to the end because I just gotta know like if it's worth it.
Yeah, but then there was something in the end that was intriguing, so I had to find the chapter that it like occurred in to make sure it actually occurred because that was gonna bug me. And so that was like
she had a whole process going.
I'm
It was a
just
whole
confused
thing.
on where you decide the end is.
I usually-
it really kind of depends on the book and the
last
day.
chapter or the epilogue, because it could have
The
just been a
last
chapter.
chapter.
No, sometimes it's like 5 chapters from the end. It just
Okay.
depends on the day.
Okay.
Wow.
Don't question the process,
whole
Heather, because
nother
nobody understands
conversation.
it.
So if somebody really loved this book or really wants to explore the alien races and all of their extra genitalia, where
Yep.
should they go? We did talk about Anna Hackett. We've talked about Ice Planet Barbarians.
Yeah.
Are there other sci-fi books / series that should be on people's radars?
I really like January Bell.
Which she is our book in 2 weeks,
Yep.
and she is our book club author, and she's coming.
And Tana Stone. And oh gosh, I have them all pulled up. Sorry.
Is there
Tana Stone.
Tasha Black?
Tasha Black, yeah.
Victoria Aveline.
Okay.
So Victoria Aveline and Tana Stone I met in Denver, and they are very sweet humans. So I really like them.
Okay.
And January Bell is really liked her
Okay.
books.
Leah?
Those ones, and then there was another person I was thinking of, but I cannot for the life of me think of who it is
Well,
right
maybe
now.
you can put a
So
blog post up this week of
I
other
will do a blog
sci-fi
post.
romances.
I will do a blog post of sci-fis this
That
week.
would be awesome. People would love that. Lindsey?
Sorry.
No, go. Do you have books?
Oh, I was trying to think all day about Tasha Black. I was like, who wrote this series? And then the minute Heather was said Tasha Black, I was like, oh yeah, her Alien Baby Agency book is the one. Like, that's a really fun alien book series. It's really long, and I don't think they're in Kindle Unlimited, but they go on
I
sale.
don't think
There's like
she.
a bunch of them that are
But I
free,
think she's
and they're
Kobo
good.
Plus. But I think
But
she's
then,
Kobo
Well,
Plus.
and Michelle Mills has a lot of alien. She has like a whole alien nanny series. They're short, like a little bit bananas at times.
Tasha, I raised my hand again. Oh my gosh, I'm so like, hi, I spent all day in a middle school. Is
It's
that
okay.
clear? Tasha Black has a mail order bride series that's in Kobo Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I threw it all the way back to Gina Showalter. She has an Alien Huntress series, and she's in almost every library in the country, so like you can read all of her books for free. I know this because I used to steal them from my library and return them because they had a stupid short policy on books. It was like 1 week checkout, so I returned them. But like, why are you limiting it to
library
1
books?
week when I can't even drive? couldn't drive until very late, so I wasn't like 12 reading these.
Did Lindsey just admit that she stole library books, but she returned them?
I did.
Steal a library book though.
Well, this probably was pre-censors.
They didn't
Well,
have the
this is
censor reader. They had the thing where you
They had to type in the number and like stamp the library
Can
card.
you imagine these librarians? Someone is stealing these alien books and then they're returning them. Like,
Wait, this book
There's
wasn't
probably a
checked
wanted
out.
poster.
in that library. And then when I was old enough, I would get them in like the $1 discount bin at Borders Books before they went away.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Anyway,
Lindsey. I love
they're
you,
very
Lindsey.
spicy.
the conscious thief, Lindsey.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna steal this, but I'm gonna return it in 2 weeks. I don't drive, so I don't get here very
stealing
often.
if you're just borrowing?
I mean,
And I don't like
borrowing
your
without
policy,
permission.
That's why
My
I'm
parents
stealing
also
it.
got really mad at me one time because like I did check out the books and then I didn't bring it back, and then
and then you had to pay the late fees.
You didn't bring them
Yeah.
back. Get
Late fees were the
get a letter in the
worst.
mail, and they were like, "Why do you owe $3.45 to the library?" And I'm like, "Well, I will sell the books instead."
No
letters
there's
in the
no
mail.
fees anymore.
No letters in the mail. They still went back to the library. It was all fine.
Okay.
Ethical theft.
Okay, ethical theft. Apparently, we've now defined that. Didn't know it was a thing. You can find a list of all the books we talked about tonight on our On the Shelf show notes at buzzingaboutromance.com. You can find a wanted poster of Lindsey in her hometown library.
Daisy said she's going to hook everyone up in the Discord on some PNR recs too.
Excellent. And Amber shares she liked Aaron Hale and Lily Xander. So.
Oh, and if you need consent, Merritt's new Saving Lauren book.
Oh yeah.
Consent. They do really deep, like there is good development in the relationship and there is world building, and it's just enough world building, and it reads, I thought it read like Anna Hackett. So
yeah. Merritt's book is very good. It's very good. Okay, so make sure you come back and join us on Sunday. October is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I am very excited. We are going to talk about books with great mental health rep. So we're going to shine a light on the importance of mental health, but we're also going to talk about books that, you know, if you're someone that struggles with OCD or someone that struggles with anxiety or depression, these are some books that would have relatable characters for you and show you the mature way, the helpful way to deal with them and not be like a rabid little trash raccoon in a corner.
Rabid trash.
I mean, maybe I want to be a rabid trash raccoon.
You pretty much are a rabid trash raccoon.
That's unavoidable.
Okay, so we'll have all the book recs on Sunday night, so make sure you're back here. And then we are back next Wednesday as we delve into vampires. Hopefully they don't sparkle, as we are reading Crimson Covenant by Samantha Whiskey. Yeah, those are all the things.
I'm excited to read that book.
I'm excited too. It's going to be a great week. Anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out and reading Captive of the Horde King. Until next time, everybody.
Happy reading,
Bye.
everybody.